Well, this is interesting. A lot of times I talk about how so many within MAGA and so many in politics are unwilling to admit when they're wrong. To the guy's credit that we're about to watch, he did, after a discussion, admit, okay, maybe I'm clueless about this whole tariff thing. And I'm going to play that for you. Like I said, really interesting. This is an interview that was conducted by Walter Masterson. I'd say friend of the show. We've never directly interacted, but we've covered each other's stuff, and I think there's mutual admiration there. And Walter interviewed a Trump supporter, but what was really cool is I'll read the caption, but it's tariffs explained to MAGA by a professional importer, exporter. So you have a businessman of some kind coming and saying, you know, I deal with this on a daily basis, and I can tell you, Mr. MAGA, you're wrong. Trump's talks of taxing the Chinese government with tariffs, they're wrong. And I know this gets repetitive, but apparently it needs to keep being talked about because there's a profound misunderstanding about the policy. It's one thing for us to disagree on the policy, fine. But we have to agree on the facts of what it is that we're even disagreeing on. But right now, there's a massive cohort of Americans, not just MAGA, there's just random people I've talked to who may have even voted for Harris. And there's a misunderstanding about what Trump's proposing when he talks about these huge, so huge tariffs. While you watch, please do click the subscribe button.
Who pays the tariffs?
The Chinese government pays the tariff.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
How you doing? Hey, I'm an importer and an exporter for 20 years. When a product comes into the US, there's something called a tariff sheet.
Okay.
I, as the buyer of that product, follow US law and pay the tariff. I'm an American citizen, an American taxpayer. I pay that tariff to the US government, and that increase in the cost I then sell to you for a higher price because I've got to cover that tariff.
Then what about,
what do you say
our tariffs are higher when they go overseas as opposed to theirs coming here?
Tariffs are never a zero-sum game. Tariffs are a tool. For example,
Okay.
you might say, you want to sell us your beans.
Yeah.
We are going to give you a low tariff if you buy our corn. But the cost of the tariff is ultimately always borne by the consumer.
Don't you think at the end of the day there may be more competition within the market of the U.S. government?
And you're confusing the question. This is not a question of competition. The point we're discussing is who bears the cost of the tariff.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you if it's good policy for the U.S. government to tax beans and for the Chinese government to tariff corn. But what I can absolutely assure you is that a product that comes into the U.S. is paid for by a U.S. company, and the increased cost of that is borne by all of us. I am an importer and exporter. I do it for a living.
Okay. Then what's the alternative if at one point in our country's history was tariffs that paid for our economy?
Tariffs don't pay for your economy.
But they did. We didn't have income taxes before.
That was before we had municipal infrastructure.
Correct. My understanding is that the tariff is lopsided to benefit other countries as opposed to ours. The suggestion is just to bring it up to make it equal.
That's why you have free trade agreements, right?
Right.
But it doesn't mean that even within the free trade agreement, they are not tariff. If there's one thing you should take away from this extended conversation is you are always paying the tariff.
You know what? I'm not educated in that. Fair enough.
Yes.
It was a pleasure.
Let's go.
Yeah, and that's how conversations should go. I really do credit the Trump supporter with, it was a respectful dialogue. He realized he was wrong and he admitted it. And that's how we should conduct conversations. And even the guy who was described as a professional importer and exporter, he did specify what is an important part of this, which is he's saying, I'm not claiming to know what the perfect policy is on tariffs, what we should tariff, what we shouldn't, at what levels. But he just wanted to explain what it was because there's still confusion. And the guy kept saying, well, doesn't the government make money from them? Well, in the immediate, yeah, you're taxing any tax policy. If you're taxing a company in the form of tariffs, then you will get money from those companies when they have to pay the tariff. The impact economically could then end up having a bad effect economically, producing less tax revenue at large. But yes, right there, when you're implementing a tariff on a company, you're being paid. It's just not by a foreign government, which makes a lot of people like the sound of a tariff when Trump explains it more, because I think I'd love if the Chinese government would have to pay us money to export products to us. And that's a big part of the confusion because, and again, people get confused about this. It's not, is a tariff good or bad? It's just how you're using it. And most people agree, I think, is probably how I could summarize a very long discussion. Most people agree it is far too aggressive and economically destabilizing to do the type of across the board tariffs at the percentage, 25% that Trump's talking about on our two biggest trading partners, and adding some more on our third biggest trading partner. That destabilizing price increases. And then even if you think, well, I think the impact of it for U.S. manufacturing, if you're disincentivizing imports because you're taxing folks, which is the purpose of the tariff as Trump has articulated it, and you can have that impact when you implement tariffs, I think the outcome down the road would be good, even if it means we have to pay more because it's more expensive to produce in the United States, or the supply chain shifting over a decade is going to be an expensive process. If you're good with that, that could be your argument, totally. But first you have to understand and be able to discuss what the actual policy is. It's not what too many think that it is. And I don't think many Trump supporters really want this policy if they knew the specifics of how it could impact their life economically. Because again, you could say, and we make this trade-off with certain things. We're okay with certain things being more expensive because we want it to be produced here for national security reasons, or for U.S. manufacturing reasons. We want to produce, more jobs. That can be the trade-off. But I think a lot of Trump supporters won't want that if they knew. And I definitely know that instead of a more reasonable, measured, and potentially over a long time frame type approach, the immediate, large, aggressive tariff approach that Trump's talking about will just be so destabilizing because of the immediate price increases. We saw how destabilizing inflation obviously can be for individuals and for an economy in the wake of the pandemic. If they want to go through that again, I guess they could make that argument. But as a reminder, Trump has said, we're doing it, baby.
What are you thinking on tariffs on Mexico, given these actions you're signing on the border?
Well, we're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada, because they're allowing vast numbers of people. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in, and fentanyl to come in.
When do you think you would enact those?
I think February 1st.
Are you planning on giving notice of that?
I think we'll do it February 1st.
25% on both, sir?
Sir,
On each.
On each, yes.
this is an example.
I think. Can you know, please? Because this is a big deal. I think we'll do it February 1st. I think we'll try to start this trade war between February 1st and March 1st. I don't know. Sometime we'll start the trade war. Don't worry about it. No, we're worried about it. Democratic Senator Adam Schiff is worried about it.
I think some of them will have a deep impact depending on whether he really carries them out. The first is these tariffs. If we have these massive tariffs on other countries, that means in terms of a lot of our industries like the agriculture industry, they're going to be just really hard hit. Prices on food and other things are going to go up even more. Similarly, if he carries out mass deportations, it will not only split up a lot of families, you have children separated from their parents, but it means a lot of farm workers won't be on the farm. Food prices will go up even further. So those two mega issues are deeply in conflict with what he says he wants to do about bringing the cost of goods down.
Yeah, you can't. I know. Oh my gosh, we've gone through so many times, but this is one of the forefront issues, right? And Trump is with the most amount of cognitive dissonance, saying he's both going to bring prices down and at the same time engage in two policies that are both extremely inflationary. How did MAGA vote for that? I don't know. And not just MAGA, but other people who, I don't really like them, but I'm voting because of prices. You can't have both. You can't say, and some people think Trump's not going to go through with the extent of the mass deportations for this reason. Maybe so, and then he would be violating a campaign promise. It would be a good failure in my mind because I don't want him to go through with these, but it wouldn't be in line with what he said. But if he went through with the full extent, we're talking about an agriculture industry collapse. Our food supply completely spiraling out of control, which would, again, because the supply would go down, cause price increases. That combined with the tariff policy, we're looking at out of control type situations while he's saying one of his big mandates is bringing prices down. It doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense. Make it make sense, MAGA, please. Don't be mad at us either. Don't be mad at us. We tried. Again, some guy called me. What did he call me? Some naughty word in a recent segment that we covered. And I asked, what did I do to deserve such vitriol? The reason I was begging you not to vote for Trump was not because I want you to get owned or destroyed. I just didn't want you to be harmed. Ugh. Trudeau has made clear, as we went over this week, it's not going to be good if he goes through with this.
Of course, if the president does choose to proceed with tariffs on Canada, Canada will respond. And everything is on the table. Working in unison with Team Canada, as Team Canada, with business leaders, organized labor, civil society, Indigenous leaders, and premiers from coast to coast to coast, we are prepared for every possible scenario. In fact, just last night, I spoke to Premier Ford in his capacity as chair of the Council of the Federation, and he reiterated his unwavering commitment on behalf of Canadian premiers to working all together. This is an important and challenging moment for Canada and for Canadians. And we know there will be many such moments.
So Canada's made clear they're ready to leverage every economic tool they have to harm our economy if we do implement such a tariff plan, because we'd be hurting their economy. And then Mexico's said the same thing. And again, I keep repeating this, but they're our two largest trading partners. So it's not small. It's not some random tiny country that couldn't really do much damage. This is catastrophic if it all ends up happening. And so the least that we're asking of you, MAGA, and I think this is fair, is at least know what it is that you're advocating for. Again, I give credit to that Trump supporter for admitting that maybe there's more to understand before advocating for that stance. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and get the bonus show by clicking that join button below. And LukeBeasleyMerch.com, this logo on a bunch of different things. Cole just recently made different designs. You can get it at LukeBeasleyMerch.com. Much love. Till the next video.